chapter 21, 10 practices. Book page is on page 57. Page 57. The paragraph is, in this way, the Bodhisattva contemplates. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo fundamental teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of eons. I now see and hear it, receive it, and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. Flower Adornment Sutra, 10 Practices, Chapter 21. In this way, the Bodhisattva contemplates that he has no self, and he sees Buddhas without obstruction. He proclaims all dharmas in order to transform beings, and he leads them to bring forth measureless joy and pure faith in the Buddha Dharma. He saves and protects them all, his mind never becoming weary. Because his mind is never weary, he goes to every world where there are beings who have not been brought to accomplishment or tamed and subdued, and there he skillfully teaches them in order to rescue them. And on the strength of his great vows, he dwells there in peace among those beings with their various sounds, various kinds of karma, various attachments, various schemes, various associations, various meanderings, various activities, various states of mind, various births, and various deaths. And he teaches and transforms them, never causing their minds to waver or retreat. Moreover, he never entertains a single thought of attachment. And why? Because he has attained to non-attachment and independence. He benefits himself and benefits others, causing all to become pure and contented. This is called the practice of non-attachment, the seventh practice of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. Disciples of the Buddha, what is the Bodhisattva Mahasattva's practice of difficult attainment? This Bodhisattva accomplishes goodness that is difficult to attain, goodness that is difficult to subdue, supreme goodness, indestructible goodness, unsurpassed goodness, inconceivable goodness, inexhaustible goodness, goodness of sovereign strength, goodness from awe-inspiring virtue, and goodness identical to all Buddha's goodness. When this Bodhisattva cultivates these practices, he attains a supreme understanding of the Buddha Dharma. He attains a vast and great understanding of the Buddha's enlightenment. He never takes a rest from the Bodhisattva's vows. Throughout all eons, his mind never wearies, while undergoing all kinds of suffering. He never gets disgusted or runs away. None of the hosts of demons can move him. All Buddhas are protective and mindful of him. He cultivates to perfection all the Bodhisattva's ascetic practices. In his cultivation of the Bodhisattva conduct, he is vigorous and never lazy. He never retreats from his great vehicle vows. When this bodhisattva peacefully abides in the practice of difficult attainment, in thought after thought he can navigate the wheel of birth and death through an asamkhya of aeons without forsaking the great vows of a bodhisattva. Any being who serves or makes offerings to him, or merely sees him or hears of him, will never turn back from Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Although this bodhisattva knows that beings do not exist, he does not abandon the realms of all beings. It is like a ship captain who does not dwell on the near shore, nor on the far shore, nor in midstream, but who ferries beings from the near shore to the far shore as he travels back and forth without rest. The same is true of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. He does not abide in birth and death, nor in nirvana, nor in the midstream of samsara,
yet he is
able to ferry living beings from the near shore and land them on the far shore in a place of security, free of fears, worries, and troubles. Moreover, he is not attached to the number of beings. He does not forsake one being and attach to many beings, nor does he forsake many beings and attach to one being. He neither increases nor decreases the realms of beings. He neither creates nor destroys the realms of beings. He does not end in the realms of beings, nor does he grow the realms of beings. He neither distinguishes among nor divides the realms of beings. And why the Bodhisattva enters deeply into the realms of beings as he does the Dharma realm. The realms of beings and the Dharma realm are non-dual. Amid non-dual dharmas there is no increase or decrease, no production and no destruction, no being and no non-being, no grasping and no relying, no attachment and no duality. And why? Because the Bodhisattva knows all dharmas and the Dharma realm are one. The Bodhisattva in this way uses wholesome experience to enter the profound Dharma realm. He abides in what is free from characteristics. He adorns himself with the characteristics of purity. He understands that dharmas have no nature, yet he can distinguish the characteristics of all dharmas. He does not cling to beings, yet he can know their numbers. He does not become attached to words, yet he can appear in Buddha lens. He does not discriminate among dharmas, yet he skillfully enters Buddha dharmas. He has a profound understanding of principles and meanings, and he widely proclaims the teachings. He understands the ultimate truth of all dharmas, which leaves desire, and so he does not cut off the bodhisattva path or retreat from the bodhisattva conduct, but cultivates inexhaustible practices with constant diligence. He freely enters the pure Dharma realm. It is like drilling wood to make a fire. Once the fire ignites, it can do all sorts of things without being extinguished. The Bodhisattva in the same way transforms beings endlessly, remaining in the world forever without cease, neither ultimate nor non-ultimate, neither grasping nor not grasping, neither relying nor not relying, neither worldly nor Buddha Dharma, neither a common person nor one who has become a sage. The Bodhisattva attains a mind like this that is difficult to attain. When he cultivates the Bodhisattva conduct, he does not speak the dharmas of the two vehicles. He does not speak the dharmas of Buddhas. He does not speak of worlds or of worldly dharmas. He does not speak of beings or the absence of beings. And he does not speak of defilement or purity. And why? Because the Bodhisattva knows that all dharmas are undefiled and cannot be grasped. Therefore he does not turn away and retreat. When the Bodhisattva in this way cultivates amid the still, wonderful, profound and supreme Dharma, he does not think, I am now cultivating this practice, I have already cultivated it, or I shall cultivate it. He is not attached to the skandhas, realms or places. He is not attached to inner worlds, to outer worlds, or to worlds both inner and outer. He has no attachment to the great vows he makes, no attachment to any paramitas, nor to any dharmas. And why? Within the Dhamma realm there are no dharmas called leading to the stage of arhatship or leading to the stage of solitary Buddha. There are no dharmas called leading to bodhisattva or leading to Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. There are no dhammas called leading to the realm of ordinary beings. There are no dhammas called leading to defilement or leading to purity, leading to birth and death or leading to nirvana. And why? Because all dhammas are non-dual, yet there is no non-duality. They are like space which throughout the 10 directions, whether in the past, present, or future, cannot be apprehended, yet it is not that space does not exist. The Bodhisattva thus contemplates that all dhammas cannot be attained, yet neither are they non-existent. This is how they really are, invariably, yet what he does is not in vain. He displays everywhere the cultivation of all Bodhisattva practices. He does not renounce his great vows to tame and subdue living beings and turn their proper dharma mere. He does not violate cause and effect, nor does he contradict the impartial, wonderful dharma. In all these things he is the same as the Daskammas of the 3 periods of time. He does not cut off the lineage of Buddhahood. He does not oppose reality, entering deeply into the Dhamma. His eloquence is boundless. When he hears the Dhamma, he remains unattached. He reaches the profound depths of the Dhamma and skillfully proclaims it with a fearless heart, while not forsaking the Buddha's dwelling. He does not oppose worldly dhammas. He appears throughout the world, yet is not attached to the world. The Bodhisattva in this way achieves wisdom which is difficult to attain. He cultivates all practices, pulls beings out of the 3 evil destinies, teaches them and subdues them. He sets them securely on the path of the Buddhas of the 3 periods of time, making them steadfast. Again, he thinks beings in the world are ungrateful and even hostile to one another, harboring mistaken views and attachments. They are deluded and confused. They are ignorant and unwise and lack faith. Following evil companions, they become perversely clever. They are filled with greed, desire, ignorance, and all manner of afflictions. This is the place where I should cultivate Bodhisattva practices. If there were a world full of grateful, intelligent, and wise beings and good teachers, I would not cultivate Bodhisattva practices there. And why? There are no beings whom I favor or oppose. I have no hopes or expectations. I do not seek even the slightest reward or a single word of praise. To the end of time, I will cultivate Bodhisattva practices without a single thought of consideration for myself. I wish only to save all beings, to help them become pure and to gain eternal liberation. And why? The Dhamma of being and understanding guide for beings must be this way, not grasping or seeking. One cultivates the Bodhisattva path only for the sake of beings, to enable them to reach the peaceful security of the far shore and accomplish Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. This is called the practice of difficult attainment, the 8th practice of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. Disciples of the Buddha, what is the Bodhisattva Mahasattva's practice of wholesome Dharma? The Bodhisattva is like a pure cool lake of Dharma for all the gods, people, demons, Brahmas, Shamanas, Brahmins, Gandharvas, and others in all the worlds. He upholds the proper Dharma, not allowing the seed of Buddhahood to be withered, because he obtains the dharani of pure radiance. His eloquence in speaking Dharma and bestowing predictions is inexhaustible, because he obtains the dharani of complete meanings. His eloquence in meanings is inexhaustible, because he obtains the dharani of awakening to the true Dharma. His eloquence in Dharma is inexhaustible, because he obtains the dharani of facility with language. His eloquence in phrasing is inexhaustible, because he obtains the dharani of unobstructed access to boundless expressions and infinite meanings. His unobstructed eloquence is inexhaustible, because the Buddhas anoint the crown of his head with the dharani of anointing the crown. His joyful eloquence is inexhaustible, because he obtains the dharani of entry into enlightenment, not gained from others. His radiant eloquence is inexhaustible, because he obtains the dharani of Darnido of mimesis eloquence. His eloquence in mimicry is inexhaustible because he obtains the Darnido of teaching and explaining the meanings of many kinds of texts. His eloquence in instructing and explaining are inexhaustible because he obtains the dharani of boundless revolution. His boundless eloquence is inexhaustible. This Bodhisattva's great compassion is strong and steadfast, and he gathers in beings everywhere. In the larger threefold thousand-world universe, he manifests a golden body and does the Buddha's work, adapting to beings' dispositions and inclinations. With a vast voice, he utters many sounds from a single sound and speaks Dharma according to the situation, bringing joy to all. Suppose numberless beings with an inexpressible variety of karmic retributions gather together in a vast assembly, filling up an inexpressible number of worlds, and suppose the Bodhisattva were seated in their midst. Suppose each being there had an inexpressible number of asankhya amounts, and each mouth could simultaneously utter trillions of millions of sounds, each forming distinct words and distinct questions. The Bodhisattva, in a single thought, could discern them all and respond to them and resolve their doubts. It would be the same in inexpressibly many assemblies as in this one assembly. Moreover, suppose on the tip of a single hair in thought after thought, there arose an inexpressible number of assemblies in Bodhimandas, and suppose the same happened on the tip of every hair to the end of future eons. These eons might end, but the assemblies would be endless. All of these assemblies in thought after thought might pose different questions, each one worded in different ways, yet the Bodhisattva in a single thought could discern them all without fear or cowardice, without doubt or error. And he would think, if all these beings join together to ask questions like these, I would teach them the Dharma without interruption and without end, to make them all happy and lead them to follow the path of goodness. Moreover, I would cause them to skillfully understand all words and expressions. I would be able to speak many kinds of Dharma for beings without preferring one language over another. If they challenged me with difficult questions, phrased in an inexpressible number of different ways, I could disturb them all in the space of a single thought and respond in a single voice so that they all awaken without exception. This is because the crown of his head has been anointed with omniscience, because he has obtained the unhindered resources, because he has realized the full and perfect radiance of all dharmas, and because he is replete with the wisdom of omniscience. Disciples of the Buddha, when this Bodhisattva Mahasattva abides in the practice of wholesome dharma, he can purify himself and can also skillfully benefit beings everywhere using expedient means without becoming attached. Yet he does not notice any beings attaining liberation, just as in this larger threefold thousand-world universe, in inexpressibly many larger threefold thousand-world universes, he also manifests a golden body, possesses a wonderful voice, and does the Buddha's work without hindrance from any dharmas. Disciples of the Buddha, this Bodhisattva Mahasattva attains 10 kinds of bodies, the body that free from the destinies and that enters the boundless Dharma realm, because he departs from everything worldly, the body that enters all the destinies of the boundless Dharma realm, because he is born in all worlds, unproduced body, because he abides in the unproduced, unbiased Dharma, the unending body, because everything ceases and words and speech cannot be apprehended, the unreal body, because he attains true reality, the body which is not false, because he manifests as appropriate, the unchanging body, because he is apart from being born in one place and dying in another, the indestructible body, because the nature of the Dharma is indestructible, the body of a single characteristic, because he is beyond words and language in the three periods of time, the body free of characteristics, because he can skillfully contemplate the characteristics of dharmas. When the Bodhisattva attains these 10 kinds of bodies, he is a shelter for all beings, because he develops all their roots of goodness. He is a savior for all beings, because he brings them great peace and security. He is a refuge for all beings, because he acts as a great place of refuge for them. He is a guide for all beings, because he leads them to accomplish the unsurpassed escape. He is a teacher for all beings, because he leads them to enter into the true and actual Dharma. He is a man for all beings, because he can make them clearly see karmic retributions. He is the light for all beings, because he leads them to understand the most profound and wonderful Dharma. He is the torch for beings in all 3 periods of time, because he can lead them to awaken to the genuine Dharma. He is the illumination for all worlds, because he brings them to enter the light of the grounds. He is the radiance for all destinies, because he displays the self-mastery of the thus come one. Disciples of the Buddha, this is called the practice of wholesome Dharma, the 9th practice of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. The Bodhisattva abides in this practice and is a pure and cool lake of Dharma for all beings, because he is able to plumb the source of all Buddha Dharmas. Disciples of the Buddha, what is the Bodhisattva Mahasattva's practice of truth? This Bodhisattva can speak with the foremost truth and sincerity. He acts in accord with what he says, and he speaks in accord with what he does. This Bodhisattva learns the true speech of the Buddhas of the 3 periods of time. He enters the lineage of the Buddhas of the 3 periods of time. His goodness is identical with those of the Buddhas of the 3 periods of time. He attains the non-dual speech of the Buddhas of the 3 periods of time. Learning from the thus come ones, he achieves wisdom. This Bodhisattva accomplishes the wisdom of knowing where beings are right and where they are wrong, the wisdom of knowing their karmic retributions in the past, future, and present, the wisdom of knowing the keenness or dullness of the faculties, the wisdom of the various realms, the wisdom of various understandings, the wisdom of knowing where all paths lead, the wisdom of knowing when purity and defilement arise in the dhyanas, liberations, and samadhis, the wisdom of knowing past lives in all worlds following thoughts, the wisdom of the celestial eye, and the wisdom of ending outflows. He does not, however, forsake any of the Bodhisattva practices. And why? Because he wants to teach and transform all beings and make them pure. The Bodhisattva further makes an even loftier resolve. If I did not cause beings to abide in the unsurpassed path of liberation, before I myself accomplished unauthorized Samyak Sambodhi, I would be turning my back on my original vows. This I must not do. Therefore I should first bring all beings to attain unsurpassed Bodhi and Nirvana without remainder, and only then realize Buddhahood myself. And why? It is not that beings have asked me to make the resolve. I myself, without being asked, want to be a friend to beings. I wish first to cause beings to fulfill their goodness and attain omniscience. Therefore I am supreme, because I am not attached to anything in the world. I am loftiest, because I abide in the unsurpassed position of taming and regulating. I am free from blindness, because I understand beings' boundless numbers. I am complete, because my fundamental vows have been accomplished. I am skilled at transformations, because I am adorned with the Bodhisattva's merit and virtue. I am a good refuge, because I am gathered in and received by all Buddhas of the 3 periods of time. Because the Bodhisattva Mahasattva does not forsake his fundamental vows, he gains entry into the unsurpassed adornment of wisdom and benefits beings, satisfying them all. In accord with the vows he has made, he leads them all to the ultimate attainment. Amid all dharmas his wisdom is sovereign and at ease. He causes all beings to attain purity. In thought after thought he travels throughout the worlds of the 10 directions. In thought after thought he goes everywhere to inexpressibly many Buddha lands. In thought after thought he sees all the inexpressibly many Buddhas and their pure adorned lands. He manifested thus Karma's sovereign spiritual power, filling the entirety of the Dharma realm and the realm of space.
This Bodhisattva
Manifests measureless bodies and enters all worlds everywhere without relying on anything. Within his body he manifests all lands, all beings, all dhammas, and all Buddhas. This Bodhisattva knows beings' various thoughts, various desires, various understandings, various karmic retributions, and various roots of goodness. In each situation he manifests in the appropriate form to tame and subdue them. He contemplates all bodhisattvas as illusions, all dhammas as transformations, the Buddha's appearances in the world as reflections, all worlds as dreams. He attains the inexhaustible treasury of bodies of meanings and expressions. With proper mindfulness and sovereign ease, he clearly understands all dhammas and his wisdom is supreme. He enters the actual appearance of all samadhis and abides in the oneness ground of the one nature. Since all beings are attached to dualities, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva abides in great compassion and cultivates still and tranquil dhammas such as these. He obtains the Buddha's 10 powers and enters the Dhamma realm of Indra's land, achieving the unimpeded liberation of the Daskamas. He is a courageous hero among people. He makes the great lions roar and attains fearlessness. He can turn the unobstructed pure Dhamma wheel. He attains the liberation of wisdom and understands the states of all worlds. He breaks out of the whirlpool of birth and death and enters the vast sea of wisdom. For all beings he protects and upholds the proper Dhamma of all Buddhas in the 3 periods of time. He goes to the source of the actual appearance at the bottom of the ocean of all Buddha Dhammas. After the Bodhisattva abides in this practice of truth, he causes the gods, humans, demons, Brahmins, Shamanas, Brahmins, Gandharvas, Asuras, and others who in the world draw near him to become enlightened, joyful, and pure. This is called the practice of truth, the 10th practice of the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. At that time, due to the Buddha's spiritual power, in each of the 10 directions, worlds as many as motes of dust in Buddha lands quaked in 6 ways, moving everywhere, moving equally everywhere, rising everywhere, rising equally everywhere, surging everywhere, surging equally everywhere, shaking everywhere, shaking equally everywhere, rowing everywhere, rowing equally everywhere, crashing everywhere, crashing equally everywhere.
the heavens
Rain down wonderful celestial flowers, celestial incense, celestial powder incense, celestial garlands, celestial robes, celestial jewels and celestial decorations, celestial music resounding, and celestial lights blazed forth and proclaimed all manner of wonderful celestial sounds. The spiritual transformations which appeared as the Dhamma of the 10 practices was spoken in the Suyama Heaven Palace. In this world also appear in the same way in all the worlds of the 10 directions. Moreover, due to the Buddha's spiritual power, from beyond worlds as many as motes of dust in 100,000 Buddha lands in each of the 10 directions, came bodhisattvas in number like motes of dust in 100,000 Buddha lands. They completely filled out this land in every direction and said to forest of merit and virtue Bodhisattva, Good indeed, disciple of the Buddha, you can skillfully proclaim the Bodhisattva's practices. All of us share the name forest of merit and virtue. The worlds we live in are all named banner of merit and virtue. The Daskamas in those worlds all share the name universal of merit and virtue. And this Dhamma is also spoken in our Buddha's way places as well. Our assemblies, retinues, words and meanings are all identical, neither more nor less. Disciple of the Buddha, We have all received the Buddha's spiritual power and have come to this assembly to certify you. So it is in all worlds of the 10 directions. At that time, for us to merit a virtue, Bodhisattva received the Buddha's spiritual power, and contemplating all assemblies in the 10 directions throughout the Dharma realm, because he wished to ensure that he would not be cut off from the Buddha nature, because he wished to purify his own Bodhisattva nature, because he wished not to retreat from the nature of his vows, because he wished to continue his practices forever, because he wished to realize the identities of the 3 periods of time to be equal, because he wished to gather in the nature of all Buddhas of the 3 periods of time, because he wished to proclaim all the roots of goodness that beings have planted, because he wished to contemplate all faculties, because he wished to understand the workings of afflictions, habits, thoughts, and actions, and because he wished to illuminate the body of all Buddhas, he spoke these verses. With a single mind I bowed in respect to the honored ones of the 10 powers, those who have left the dust, the pure ones with unobstructed vision, the ones whose states of mind are far-reaching and deep, without equal beyond compare, the ones who abide in the way like empty space, the most supreme of all people from time past, their merit and virtue measured as free of all attachments, courageous heroes foremost incomparable, the ones who leave the dust walk this way. In all countries of the present, in every direction, skillfully able to proclaim the ultimate truth, free from all mistakes and evils, most pure and clear, the ones who rely on nothing walk this way. All lions among people of the future time roam everywhere throughout the Dharma realm, having expressed the great compassion of all Buddhas, the ones who benefit walk this way. The incomparable honor ones of the 3 periods of time naturally dispel the darkness of stupidity and realize the equality of all dharmas. People of great power walk this way. Everywhere they behold measured as boundless worlds, all realms of existence and all paths of rebirth. Yet seeing them, their minds make no distinctions. The unmoving ones walk this way. Everything in the Dharma realm is clearly understood. In the ultimate truth, they are most pure. Hatred, pride, and delusion forever broken. The ones with merit and virtue walk this way, skillful at distinguishing among beings, bringing them all into the Dharma realm's true nature, and causing them naturally to become enlightened on their own. The ones who approach emptiness walk this way. To all countries whatsoever, to the ends of space, they go and speak the Dharma with extensive analogies, speaking pure words that none can slander. The supreme munis walk this way, completely firm, solid, never turning back. They accomplish the honor and supreme Dharma. Inexhaustible power reaches the partial. Skillful cultivators walk this way, measured as boundless on the stages, vast and great, states most subtle and profound, fully able to see and know them, leaving nothing out. The lions of debate walk this way, completely understanding every meaning and phrase, crushing all heretical theories, certain about the Dharma, free of any doubts. The great munis walk this way, far apart from all the world's calamities and errors, bestowing joy and security upon all beings, able to be peerless, great guiding masters. The ones of supreme virtue walk this way, always bestowing fearlessness upon beings, causing them all to celebrate with joy, their minds pure, free from timidity and stain. The peerless ones walk this way, with mind karma purified, extremely compliant and good, apart from all sophistry and errors in speech. They are awe-inspiring, light, perfect and full, respected by all. The ones most supreme walk this way, understanding the true real meaning, reaching the far shore, dwelling in merit and virtue's place with minds forever tranquil, mindfully protected, never forgotten by all Buddhas. Those who end further becoming walk this way, detached from self, free from vexation and harm, ever proclaiming the proper Dharma in a great voice. that pervades the lands of the 10 directions. Those beyond all metaphor walk this way, having perfected the Dana Paramita, adorned with 4 marks, 5 characteristics, and 100 blessings. All beings who see them are filled with joy.
Those of supreme
Wisdom walk this way. The stage of wisdom is most profound and difficult to enter. With wonderful wisdom, they can skillfully abide there in peace. Their minds ultimately do not move or sway. The ones of solid practice walk this way. They can completely enter all Dharma realms. No matter where they enter, they reach the ultimate point. With all-encompassing spiritual powers and self-mastery, the ones of Dharma radiance walk this way. The great munis who are without pure diligently cultivate the oneness of samadhi, their minds ever concentrated, delighting in still tranquility. Those of universal vision walk this way. All countries, whether minute or vast, integrate with each other and yet keep their distinctions. They completely understand all states like these. Those with wisdom great as the king of mountains walk this way. Their minds ever clear and bright, apart from all stain, attached to nothing within the 3 worlds, protecting and upholding the myriad precepts that lead to the far shore. Those of pure minds walk this way. No words could describe their boundless wisdom, everywhere pervading the Dharma realm and space. Skillfully cultivate, study, and abide in this. The ones of Vajra wisdom walk this way. Their wisdom skillfully and thoroughly comprehends the states of all Buddhas in the 3 times, never for an instant experiencing fatigue. The ones most supreme walk this way, skillfully discerning the dharmas of the 10 powers and understanding where all paths lead. With body karma unobstructed, they attain self-mastery. Those with meritorious bodies walk this way. Measureless boundless realms in 10 directions, and absolutely every being in them. I will save and protect them all, forsaking none. The fearless ones walk this way, diligently cultivating all the Buddha's dharmas, their minds ever vigorous, never lazy or fatigued, purifying and regulating each and every world. The great kings of dragons walk this way, knowing that beings' faculties are not the same, and their measureless desires and understandings are each distinct, clearly understanding all the many different realms. Those who enter everywhere walk this way, going to be reborn countless times in numberless wars in the 10 directions, yet never having a single thought of fatigue. The happy ones walk this way, everywhere releasing measureless lesser light, bathing all worlds in radiance, so that those who receive the light realize their Dharma nature. Those of skillful wisdom walk this way, causing the lands of the 10 directions to quake in measureless millions of Mahindras of worlds, yet never startling or frightening anything. Those who benefit the world walk this way, skillfully understanding the dharmas of all languages. They answer all challenges thoroughly and completely. Clever, quick, and wise, there is nothing they do not know. The fearless ones walk this way, good at understanding all countries, both upright and inverted, discerning and examining them to the ultimate point, causing all to abide in the stage of inexhaustibility. Those whose wisdom is supreme walk this way, measureless Mahindras of meritorious deeds. They cultivate them all in search of the Buddha's way. In all they do, they reach the far shore. Those whose practices are inexhaustible walk this way. Great masters of debate transcend the mundane world. Their eloquence is foremost like the lion's roar, causing all beings everywhere to reach the far shore. The ones with pure hearts walk this way. Being anointed on the crown by all Buddhas is the foremost Dharma. Having received the Dharma of anointment of the crown, their minds ever abide in the methods of the proper Dharma. Those whose minds are vast and great walk this way. They completely understand the minds of beings in all their differences, resolutely maintaining the treasury of the Buddha's dharmas. Those like Mount Sumeru walk this way. In each and every language they can speak everywhere in countless voices, so that beings may understand each according to their kind. Those whose vision is unimpeded walk this way. Their wisdom skillfully comprehends without making discriminations all dharmas of speech and writing, abiding in the state of reality. Those who see their nature walk this way, abiding in the profound great ocean of Dharma, skillful at realizing all dharmas, understanding the true door to the unmarked dharmas. Those who see the truth walk this way, going to visit each and every Buddha land throughout measureless and boundless eons, practicing observation and contemplation without pausing for a moment. Those who are not lax walk this way. They clearly see upon the tip of a single head all the tantas, numberless and boundless, with their many names, each one different. Those with pure blessings walk this way, seeing all Buddhas on the tip of a single head, their number limitless beyond telling. They see all Dhammarams in just the same way. The disciples of the Buddha walk this way. Within one thought they clearly see limitless, numberless, boundless eons, and they know that their names and characteristics are not fixed. Those who practice liberation walk this way. They can cause people who see them to benefit and to create affinities with the Buddha Dharma, yet they are free from attachment to what they do. Those who are supreme walk this way, meeting the Buddhas constantly through ayudas of eons, never weary even in a single thought, but with hearts that are more and more happy. Those who do not seek in vain walk this way. Throughout limitless, boundless eons, they contemplate the realms of all beings, yet never see that even a single being exists. These stalwart heroes walk this way, cultivating a boundless storehouse of blessings and wisdom, acting as a pure cool lake of merit and virtue for all, benefiting the multitudes of beings. The outstanding ones walk this way. All the kinds and species in the Dhamma realm, everywhere pervade empty space beyond measure or number, understanding that their existence is based on words. Those who give the lion's roll walk this way. Namo Sammanto Motona Apolati Hatta Chanami Jimi Jimi Danta Kantana Moha Shanti Polati Mutta Mutta Motanta Kantana Moha Hong Kanso Namo Sammanto Motona Apolati Hatta Chanami Jimi Jimi Danta Kantana Moha Shanti Polati Namo Sambandho Motona Apolati Hadocha Chanami Anjimi Jimi Danta Kadana Moha Shani Polati Uddamo Dhammo Danta Kadana Moha Saha. Praise for the fourth assembly. In the ocean of practices, the waves surge and billow. Clouds display the doors of kindness. Up in the Yama, having cloud-like multitudes arrive, they circumambulate the honored Dharma king. Flowers rain down in colorful profusion, and the entire assembly is majestically present. Dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Three bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Tassa Quang Phо Hóa Yên Jing Hóa Yên Hải Huệ Phổ菩薩.
Okay, we're going to carry on with chapter 21. The book page will be 108. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds or millions of eons. I will see and hear it, receive and upload it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. Abide within each and every samadhi, to enter numberless samadhis everywhere, so that all reach the esoteric mystery of every Dharma gate. The moons of debate walk this way, diligently cultivating the power of patience, till they reach the far shore, able to endure the supreme Dharma of Nirvana, with minds impartial, solid, and unmoving. Those of boundless wisdom walk this way, sit motionless in one world, in one place, constantly in repose, yet in all places, everywhere, making bodies appear. Those with boundless bodies walk this way, making limitless, boundless countries, all enter into a single mote of dust that contains them all without impediment. Those of boundless thought walk this way, understanding what is right and what is wrong, able to wield each of the 10 powers, Gaining the thirst come one supreme strength, those of foremost strength walk this way. With their wisdom knowing at all times, all the merciless and boundless karmic retribution of past, present, and future. Those of penetrating understanding walk this way, knowing the appropriate times for all beings in the world, and subduing them each according to their potential. Acting at the right time, they never miss a chance. Those with skillful understanding walk this way.
Guarding what they do with body, mouth, and mind, leading others to always rely on the Dharma in cultivation, to leave order, attachment, and to subdue all demons. Those whose minds are wise walk this way.
Developing good skill in all dharmas, able to enter the impartial place of truthlessness, excellently expounding without end. Those with the Buddha's conduct walk this way. They have perfected the method of dharani, and skillfully abiding the unobstructed treasury, completely understanding all dharma ranks. The ones who profoundly comprehend walk this way. With all Buddhas of the three periods of time, they share identical attitudes, and their wisdom is the same. A single nature, single adherence without differences. Those of the unobstructed nature walk this way. Their vision is free of the cataract of ignorance. They enter deeply into the vast glacial wisdom, everywhere looking upon beings with their pure and clear eyes. Those who attain vision walk this way. Having reached the stage of all guiding masters, with impulse of psychic power and non-dual practices, gaining the Tascama's powers of self-mastery, those with skillful cultivation walk this way, roaming everywhere throughout all worlds, universally raining down the boundless, wonderful Dharma rain, bringing all to a clear understanding of principles. Those of the Dharma cloud walk this way. In the Buddha's wisdom and liberation, they hold a deep, pure faith that never retreats, growing the roots of wisdom from this faith. Those skilled in learning walk this way. Within a single thought, they can completely understand each and every being without exception, knowing their minds and nature. Those who comprehend naturelessness walk this way.
They can visit by transformation
All the countless countries of the Dharma realm, their bodies are most wonderful and beyond compare. Those who practices are unequaled walk this way. Buddhas beyond counting abide in boundless innumerable Buddha lands. Bodhisattvas appear before every one of them. They draw near with offerings and show reverence. From a single body, bodhisattvas can enter into the tranquil concentration of samadhi and cause numberless bodies to appear. Each and every one of them comes from samadhi. The Bodhisattva dwelling is most profound and wonderful. Their practices and deeds transcend mere sophistry. Their minds are pure and clear, every delighted and joyful. They can make all beings happy. With experience, skill, their wisdom clearly perceives the differences in beings' faculties, yet they know all faculties have no basis. Those who subdue what is hard to subdue walk this way. By means of experience and skillful discernment, they gain freedom and ease amid all dharmas. The worlds of all directions are each different, and in the midst of them they do the deeds of Buddhas. Their faculties are subtle, as are their practices. They are able to speak the Dharma extensively for all beings. Who is not delighted to hear its sound? Those who resemble empty space walk this way. With the pure unequaled wisdom eye, they can clearly see all dharmas. With such wisdom and skillful discernment, they unequaled one walk this way.
To the utmost
Extent they cultivate blessings infinitely vast and great, bringing all beings to purity. The matchless ones walk this way, exhorting all to cultivate the Dharma that lay the way, leading them to abide in the state of expedient means. They liberate numberless beings on a vast scale, yet never for an instant commit the ideal beings. Thoroughly contemplating all potentials, protecting others' minds first, and bringing an end to quarrels, everywhere showing all beings the place of peace and security. The expedient ones walk this way, achieving the highest and foremost wisdom. They possess limitless wisdom beyond all measure, totally fearless amid the four assemblies. Those with skillful wisdom walk this way. With these they can understand thoroughly and completely all worlds and all dharmas. They join to all assemblies as well and liberate beings beyond number. In all countries in the 10 directions, they beat the great Dharma drum to awaken the masses of beings. As Dharma giving hope, they are supreme. The indestructible ones walk this way. A single body seated upright for lotus, feels mercilessness in the 10 directions. Yet the body causes no one to feel crowded. Those of the Dharma body walk this way.
In 1 minute, in 1 sentence, they will proclaim
Measureless and boundless dharmas, whose limits can never be reached. Those with a boundless wisdom walk this way, skillful in cultivating and learning the Buddha's liberation, attaining the Buddha's wisdom without obstruction, accomplishing fearlessness and mirror for the world. The expedient ones walk this way. They understand the oceans of worlds in the 10 directions, and know as well the ocean of all Buddha lands, and completely fathom the oceans of wisdom and Dharma. All beings who see them and are delighted. They may manifest entering the womb and being born, or attaining proper enlightenment at the Bodhimata, causing all in the world to see such events. The boundless ones walk this way. Amid measureless millions of countries, they manifest bodies entering nirvana.
In fact, they never forsake their vows, nor return to tranquility. The heroes in debate walk this way. The stable yet subtle unit and wonderful body is identical to the Buddhas and no different, but all beings each see it differently. Those of the one true body walk this way.
The Dharma realm is impartial without differences, repeat with measureless, boundless meanings, happily contemplating the one mind with unmoving minds. Those with wisdom of the 3 periods of time walk this way. They do their utmost way and to establish beings and the Buddha Dharma, with upholding power the same as the Buddhas. The supreme cultivators walk this way. Their power of spiritual travel is unimpeded like the Buddhas. Their heavenly eye is unimpeded and most pure. Their eye is unimpeded in his hearing. Those of unimpeded minds walk this way. They have entirely perfected all psychic powers, having realized all in accord with their wisdom, peerless in their universal knowledge. The worthy and wise walk this way. Their minds is mighty and moving, their wisdom vast and great without boundaries. They clearly understand all states. Those who see everything walk this way. Having reached the shore of merit and virtue, they can rescue beings one after another. With hearts that never grow weary, the ever-delight ones walk this way. They know and see completely all the dharmas of the Buddhas of the three periods of time, born from the nature of the thus come ones. All the Buddha's disciples walk this way. Having mastered the ability to speak compliantly, they can skillfully refute the illogical theories, constantly progressing toward the Buddha's Bodhi. Those of boundless wisdom walk this way. The boundless illumination from a single ray of light suffuses the lands of the 10 directions, raining bright light to all worlds. The dispellers of darkness walk this way. They make offerings in accord with what beings need to see, for the sake of manifesting the thus come one's pure body, teaching beings in the hundreds of thousands of millions, and adorning Buddha lands in the same way. In order to cause beings to transcend the world, they cultivate wonderful practices. These practices are vast and great without boundaries. How could anybody know them? If a countless number of division bodies were created, filling all space and the Dharma realm, and all these in unison praise their merit and virtue, the praises in the million eons could never be exhausted.
The Bodhisattva's merit and virtue
Has no bounds. They have perfected all their cultivation. In measureless, boundless numbers of Buddhas spoke of it. Through measureless years they could never finish. Even as could gods or people in the world, and all the hearers and conditioned enlightened ones, be able with immeasureless, boundless ones to praise and extol it to the full. End of the 10 Practices chapter. Namo Samento Modona Nabala Dihata Chejanami Anjimi Jimi Dandaga Namo Vasate Bola Uda Modan Modandaga Namo Sahana Samento Modona Nabala Dihata Chejanami Anjimi Jimi Dandaga Namo
Vasate Bola Uda Moda
Namo Samento Modona Abaladi Haraja Janani Ajimi Jimi Dandaka Namo Vasante Baladi Udamo Damo Dandaka Namo Vahom Pansaha Namo Samento Modona Nadia Hota Chajanani Ajimi Jimi Dandaka Mawasante Baladi Uda Modan Modanda Gadana Moha Saha. Praise for the sixth assembly.
For assembly. For.
Sorry, praise for the fourth assembly. In the ocean of practices, the waves surge and billow, clouds display the doors of kindness. Up in the Yama heaven, cloud-like multitudes arise. They circumambulate the honored Dharma king. Flowers rain down in colorful profusion, and the entire assembly is majestically present. Now we go to chapter 38, Transcending the World. Part 1. At that time, the world owner one was in the country of Magadha at the Bodhimandala in an Aranya within the universal light palace. He was seated upon the lion's throne of a treasury of lotuses. He had perfect and wonderful awakening and had ended the two activities forever. He had achieved the stage of marklessness. He had grown in the Buddha's apple. He had attained qualities identical with those of the Buddhas. He had arrived at the place of non-obstruction. He had attained the stage of non-regression. His actions were unimpeded. He had established himself in the inconceivable, and he could perceive the three periods of time simultaneously. He constantly pervaded every land. His wisdom was durable, such that he understood every dharma. He accomplished every practice and cleared away every doubt. His manifestations were unfathomable. His wisdom was sought by every bodhisattva. He arrived at the stage of non-duality, the same ultimate farthest shore as all Buddhas, attaining liberation that is identical with all Tathagatas, like that of the Buddhas, extending throughout the Dharma realm and pervading the realm of space. He realized the level and equal ground that has no middle or extremes. He was with a gathering of bodhisattva, mahasattvas from various lands in other directions, equal in number to particles of dust in ineffable hundreds of thousands of Kodis of Nayutta or Buddha land, all of whom were to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi in a single lifetime. Having this samadhi, all the worlds in the 10 directions quaked. Sorry, I got the wrong page. Page 2 in the book. Expedient wisdom of a bodhisattva. These bodhisattvas were skilled at contemplating every being, teaching and enabling them with the power of experience to abide by the practices of bodhisattva. They were skilled at contemplating all worlds, visiting the worlds with the power of experience. They were skilled at contemplating the stage of nirvana, pondering and marveling and forever severing themselves from the rigorous debate so as to unceasingly cultivate wonderful practices. They were skilled at gathering in beings. They were skilled at mastering all the countless experience beings, knowing that beings are empty and without substance of their own, and yet not impairing their karmic fruitions. They were skilled at knowing the various differences among beings, tendencies, faculties, states, and skillful means. They could receive and uphold the Buddha Dharma of the three periods of time, and having understood it themselves, it explained it to others. They abide skillfully in limitless, mundane, and transcendental dharmas, knowing them to be true toward all kinds of conditioned and unconditioned dharmas. They had equal regard, knowing that dharmas are non-dual. Within one single thought, they were entirely able to obtain the collective wisdom of the Buddhas of the three periods of time. Within every thought, they were entirely able to display their accomplishment of equal and proper awakening, causing every being to make a resolve to accomplish the path. Knowing the conditions within one single being's mind, they were able to know all being states. Although they had entered the Tathagata's ground of all wisdom, they did not abandon the Bodhisattva's conduct. They applied wisdom and experience to whatever they did. Yet did so as if nothing had been done. For the sake of every being, they dwell in the world for immeasurable kalpas, but it was difficult for beings to encounter them within an asankaya kalpa. They had turned the wheel of proper Dharma, never failing to teach beings. They had perfected the pure practices and vows of the Buddhas of the three periods of time. Such were the immeasurable meritorious virtues they had accomplished. If even all the Buddhas spoke for boundless kalpas, they could never describe them all. Their names were Universal Worthy Bodhisattva, Universal I Bodhisattva, Universal Transformation Bodhisattva, Universal Wisdom Bodhisattva, Universal Vision Bodhisattva, Universal Light Bodhisattva, Universal Contemplation Bodhisattva, Universal Illumination Bodhisattva, Universal Banner Bodhisattva, Universal Awakening Bodhisattva, and so on. Such were the bodhisattvas, as numerous as particles of dust in a cluster or ineffable hundreds of thousands of kodis or nayutas or Buddha lands, all of whom had accomplished universal worthies, practices, and vows. Their profound determination and great vows had been brought to culmination. They traveled to wherever Buddhas appeared in the world and requested them to turn the wheel of Dharma. They were well able to accept and uphold the Buddha's Dharma, so the lineage of Buddhas would not be discontinued.
They well knew the Buddha's appearances in the world and their prediction of sequential attainment of Buddhahood, such as their names and countries, their attainment of proper awakening, and their turning of the wheel of Dharma. In the worlds without Buddhas, they appeared and became Buddhas, enabling devout beings to attain purity. They were able to eradicate the karmic hindrances that bodhisattvas encounter, and to enter the Dharma realm pure and unobstructed. At that point, Universal Worthy Bodhisattva Mahasattva entered the vast and great samadhi called Buddha Flower Adornment. While he did the samadhi, all the worlds in the 10 directions quaked and trembled in 6 ways in an array of 18 phases, producing a booming sound and all could hear. When he emerged from samadhi, Universal Wisdom Bodhisattva, knowing that the assembly had gathered, asked Universal Worthy Bodhisattva these questions. Disciple of the Buddha, it is our wish that you speak to us. What kinds of reliance does the Bodhisattva Mahasattva take? What are his wondrous and special thoughts? What are his practices? What are his kinds of good spiritual advisors? What are his ways of applying diligence and vigor? What are his ways of attaining peace of mind? What are his ways of bringing beings to accomplishment? What are his kinds of precepts? What are his ways of knowing for himself that he will receive a prediction? What are his ways of entering the realm of a bodhisattva? What are his ways of entering the realm of Tathagata? What are his ways of penetrating the activities of beings? What are his ways of entering worlds? What are his ways of entering kalpas? What are his ways of speaking about the 3 periods of time? What are his ways of entering the 3 periods of time? What are his ways of making tireless resolves? What are his kinds of discerning wisdom? What are his kinds of dharanis? Of what kinds of Buddhas does he speak? What are his ways of making a resolve like universal worthies? What are his ways of practicing universal worthies conduct? What are his ways of bringing forth great
compassion? What are his causes and conditions for making the resolve for Bodhi? What are his ways of referring good spiritual
advisor?
What are his kinds of purity? What are his kinds of paramitas? What are his kinds of wisdom that align with awakening? What are his kinds of certified knowledge? What are his kinds of powers? What are his kinds of equalities? What are his ways of expressing the true meaning of the Buddha Dharma? What are his ways of speaking Dharma? What are his ways of sustaining? What are his kinds of eloquence? What are his kinds of self-mastery? What are his kinds of inclinations toward non-attachment? What are his kinds of impartial minds? What are his ways of developing wisdom? What are his ways of transforming? What are his supporting powers? What are his ways of feeling great joy and reassurance?
What are his ways of profoundly entering into the Buddha Dharma? What are his kinds of reliance? What are his ways of making fearless resolves? What are his ways of making resolves that are free of doubt?
What are his kinds of inconceivability? What are his kinds of ingenious and enigmatic expressions? What are his kinds of skillful discerning wisdom? What are his ways of entering samadhi? What are his kinds of complete entry? What are his kinds of doors to liberation? What are his kinds of spiritual powers? What are his kinds of clear insight? What are his kinds of liberation? What are his kinds of gardens? What are his kinds of palaces? What are his kinds of delight? What are his kinds of adornments? What are his kinds of unwavering resolves? What are his kinds of vast and profound resolve that he never forsakes? What are his kinds of wise contemplation? What are his ways of explaining about dharmas? What are his kinds of purity? What are his kinds of seals? What are his kinds of illumination due to wisdom? What are his kinds of tearless abidings? What are his kinds of noble minds? What are his kinds of results that rise like a mountain? What are his kinds of ocean-like wisdom that leads him to unsurpassed bodhi? What are his jewel-like abidings? What are his vata-like Mahayana resolves? What are his great aspirations? What are his utmost great tasks? What are his indestructible faiths? What are his ways of receiving predictions? What are his ways of transferring roots of goodness? What are his ways of attaining wisdom? What are his ways of bringing forth measureless, boundless, vast, and great results? What are his hidden treasury? What are his precepts and deportments? What are his self-masteries? What are his unimpeded functions? What are his unimpeded functions with respect to beings? What are his unimpeded functions with respect to lands? What are his unimpeded functions with respect to dharmas? What are his unimpeded functions with respect to bodies? What are his unimpeded functions with respect to vows? What are his unimpeded functions with respect to states? What are his unimpeded functions of wisdom? What are his unimpeded functions of spiritual penetrations? What are his unimpeded functions of spiritual powers? What are his unimpeded functions of powers? What are his kinds of playful roaming? What are his kinds of states? What are his powers? What are his fearlessnesses? What are his unique qualities? What are his deeds? What are his bodies?
What are his kinds of physical activities? What are his kinds of bodies? What are his kinds of speech?
What are his ways of purifying speech karma? What are his ways of receiving protection? What are his kinds of great tasks? What are his kinds of mind? What are his kinds of resolve? What are his kinds of all-pervasive minds? What are his kinds of roots? What are his kinds of profound minds? What are his kinds of ascending profound minds? What are his kinds of diligent cultivation? What are his kinds of decisive understandings? What are his kinds of decisive understandings of worlds? What are his kinds of decisive understanding of realms of beings? What are his habits? What are his grasping? What are his kinds of cultivation? What are his
accomplishments in the Buddha
Dharma? What are his kinds of regression from the Buddha Dharma? What are his paths of transcending the round of rebirth? What are his qualities of certainty? What are his ways of realizing the path of the Buddha Dharma? What are his titles that signify his great heroism? What are his ways that lead to the path? What are his immeasurable path? What are his means that aid in cultivation? What are his paths of cultivation? What are his paths of adornment? What kinds of feet does he have? What kinds of hands does he have? What kinds of belly does he have? What kinds of internal organs does he have? What kinds of hearts does he have? What kinds of arms does he have? What kinds of weapons does he have? What kinds of heads does he have? What kinds of eyes does he have? What kinds of ears does he have? What kinds of noses does he have? What kinds of tongues does he have? What kinds of bodies does he have? What kinds of minds does he have? What kinds of walking does he have? What kinds of standing does he have? What kinds of sitting does he have? What kinds of reclining does he have? What kinds of clothes does he have? What kinds of promenades does he have? What kinds of observation does he have? What kinds of universal observation does he have? What kinds of vigorous richness does he have? What kinds of nice walks does he have? What kinds of pure giving does he have? What kinds of pure precept does he have? What kinds of pure patience does he have? What kinds of pure vigor does he have? What kinds of pure concentration does he have? What kinds of pure wisdom does he have? What kinds of pure kindness does he have? What kinds of pure compassion does he have? What kinds of pure joy does he have? What kinds of pure equanimity does he have? What kinds of principle does he have? What kinds of dharma does he have? What kinds of tools that aid the cultivation of blessings and virtue does he have?
What kinds of tools that aid the cultivation of wisdom does he have?
What kinds of perfect breathing does he have? What kinds of quest for Dharma does he have? What kinds of illumination does he have? What kinds of practice does he have? What kinds of demons of which he must be wary? What kinds of demonic influences of which he must be wary? What kinds of demonic deeds must he avoid? What kinds of Buddha does he behold? What kinds of Buddha walk does he do? What kinds of arrogant acts does he recognize? What kinds of wise deeds does he accomplish? What are his ways of encountering demonic possessions? What are his ways of being gathered in and supported by the Buddha? What are his ways of being gathered in and supported by the Dharma? What kinds of deeds does he perform while dwelling in the Tushita heaven? What kinds of events are revealed when his life in the Tushita heaven is about to end? Why does he manifest dwelling in the womb? What kinds of subtle events does he reveal? Why does he manifest being born? Why does he manifest a smile? Why does he show the walking on 7 steps? Why does he appear as a youth? Why does he manifest living in a palace? Why does he manifest the renouncing of secular life? Why does he manifest the practice of austerities? How does he go to Bodhi Mandala? How does he sit at the Bodhi Mandala? What kinds of extraordinary events take place while he's sitting at the Bodhi Mandala? Why does he manifest the conquering of demons? What kinds of powers or tathagatas does he achieve? How does he turn the wheel of Dharma? Why does he cause beings to attain purity when he turns the wheel of Dharma? Why does the Tathagata, one worthy of offerings and one of equal and proper awakening, manifest Parinirvana? Good indeed, disciple of the Buddha. Please explain all such dharmas to us. At that time, universal worthy Bodhisattva said to universal wisdom and the other Bodhisattvas. Namo Samanta Madana Balati Hada Jajanani Achimi Jimi Tanta Katana Moa Sante Balati Udan Modan Modanda Katana Moa Hong Pansa Namo Samanta Madana Balati Hada Jajanani Achimi Jimi Tanta Santi Polari Uda Moda Moda Gadana Moa Hong Pansama Namo Samanta Modana Napoladi Hada Jajana Achimi Jimi Danda Gadana Moa Santi Poladi Uda Moda Moda Gadana Moa Hong Pansama. Okay, praise for the sixth assembly.
Eighth assembly. Eighth assembly.
Okay, praise for the eighth assembly. In the assembly for the third time in the Universal Light Palace, the myriad practices are perfectly cultivated from Samattabhadra's vaso. 2,000 responses pour forth. In the ocean of suffering, he sails the boat of kindness. A single phrase totally encompasses all Dharma meanings together, yet all pervasive. Dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiance with light, share the fruits of peace, with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of the endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. 3 bows. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Nam mô Ta Phương Quảng Phổ Hoa Yên Trì Hoa Thiên Hải Huệ Phổ菩萨